Admirers of Stoicism, I welcome you. Stoicism, as a philosophical tradition, continues to attract the interest of modern thinkers. Its teachings, infused with the principles of eudaimonia and ancient wisdom, call upon us to deeply comprehend the meaning of human existence and its relationship with the external world. Stoicism emphatically impresses upon us the need to strive for an understanding of the nature of the world and human reason, while recognizing all the allure and illusions of our thoughts. It urges us to find happiness not in external circumstances but in the harmony of our inner state. Despite Stoicism sometimes being perceived as a philosophy of passivity and submission, its true depth and wisdom extend far beyond superficial perception. Immersion in the essence of this teaching begins with the works of the Phoenician merchant Zeno and continues through the interpretations of his followers. In an unexpected moment, while transporting a shipment of purple dye from Phoenicia to Piraeus, misfortune befell his ship, and he found himself on the brink of death. In this critical moment, he reconsidered his attitude toward life and delved deeper into the study of philosophy. Once, while in a bookstore, Zeno struck up a conversation with the shopkeeper, inquiring where one could encounter individuals like Socrates. At that moment, the philosopher Crates, a cynic, happened to pass by, and the shopkeeper pointed to him, prompting Zeno to follow. Thus, Zeno became a disciple of Crates. Initially, Crates taught him not to feel shame for things that are not truly shameful. On a beautiful day, Crates ordered Zeno to walk through the streets with a pot filled with lentil soup. Seeing the student's embarrassment, he smashed the pot with a staff, splattering Zeno's legs with soup. Startled, Zeno ran away, to which Crates, with a smile, shouted, "Why feel ashamed, Phoenician? There is nothing shameful here." Zeno acquired wisdom from other teachers before founding his own school. He conducted classes outdoors, under the protection of a stoa, in the city center, and his students earned the nickname Stoics. Anyone willing could join and listen to lessons on rhetoric, poetry, and ethics. Zeno passed away at the age of 98 from natural causes, although there is a version of his death from starvation when he felt he was no longer benefiting society. As previously noted, Stoics believe that to achieve happiness, one must understand three aspects: nature, human thought, and the order of the world, as well as one's place in it. To this end, they devoted themselves to the study of physics, logic, and ethics. Stoic physics went beyond conventional notions. It encompassed the study of the world's structure, natural sciences, as well as metaphysics and theology. Stoic logic, according to Stoic teachings, is an integral part of modern logic. It is the science of the forms and laws of correct thinking. It includes the study of epistemology, rhetoric, and even psychology. Stoics studied ethics with the aim of forming a proper personality through spiritual exercises. Chrysippus, one of the Stoic thinkers, metaphorically described this doctrine. Imagine Stoicism as a garden. Ethics are the fruits that grow in this garden. For a rich harvest, the soil is fertilized by physics, and to prevent harmful insects from ruining the garden, logic comes to the rescue. To shape the ideal personality, Stoics adhered to four virtues. Practical wisdom is the ability to make decisions with intelligence and reason. Courage is not only bravery in actions, such as on the battlefield, but also psychological resilience, facing facts without intimidation. Temperance is a principle based on moderation in all things. Justice is a mandatory quality for Stoics in their interactions with other people, requiring fair and just treatment. The Stoic also strives for self-improvement, adhering to three disciplines. The discipline of desire, an important component of Stoicism, relies on the concept of the dichotomy of control. We have power over some aspects of life, but others lie beyond our influence. For example, we choose our lifestyle to maintain health, but cannot directly control the state of our body. Therefore, we should not worry about events that are beyond our control. Stoics encourage distinguishing between these spheres. However, this is impossible without an understanding of physical principles, as we often mistakenly believe that we have control over most things, when in fact we do not. Courage and moderation help us with this. The discipline of action, the second aspect of Stoic practice, governs our behavior. Obviously, justice and understanding of ethics are necessary here. The third discipline, the discipline of assent, regulates our reactions to surrounding events. The Stoic analyzes first impressions and decides whether to agree with them or not. This is based on knowledge of logic and requires wisdom. Stoics considered it important to improve their personality, and for constant improvement, they performed spiritual exercises applicable in everyday life. Strive to avoid all unpleasant fantasies. Remember that you are merely a mental representation and not at all what you appear to be. Next, conduct an analysis according to our rules. Pose the question, does this vision pertain to what is within our control or what is beyond it? And if it concerns what is beyond our control, let your judgment be as follows: this is of no concern to me. At this moment, stereotypes emerge. This advice is often regarded as a manifestation of submissiveness, but this is fundamentally incorrect. Among Stoics, there exists the concept of adiaphora: indifferent, preferred, and dispreferred. Indifferent refers to what we cannot control. However, it is further divided into preferred and dispreferred. Epictetus, using the analogy of playing ball, explains this through the life of Socrates. Socrates is like a player with a ball. And what does this ball represent in the middle of the field? It is life being in chains, being exiled, drinking poison, losing family. That's what's in the center of the field, what he played with. Yet, he played with wisdom. Thus, we should treat our concerns like skillful ball playing. And what about indifference? What do you say about the ball itself? During a football game, everyone's attention is focused on the ball, yet it is an indifferent thing. We don't care what material it's made of, what color or size it is. Its value does not correspond to the significance of the footballer's game. The ball is just a tool they manipulate. And no one, not even the world's greatest player, can predict how they will handle the ball in different situations. The main thing on the field is to demonstrate what you are capable of. Returning to Socrates, he was given the conditions of playing on the football field of life itself, the time of his birth, the city, and the environment. His opponents were events that tested him, like a sword owner. He could either gracefully evade them or play dirty with them. One of such opponents was the accusation of impiety, originating from envious rivals. And although he eloquently defended his position in court, he was sentenced to death. His friends suggested bribing the guards, but he refused this idea. Socrates could have compromised, but he chose to remain true to himself and his principles. For him, the main thing was to preserve his honor. Being a Stoic, following all four virtues takes precedence. In this regard, Stoics were radical. For Socrates, it was nobler to accept the verdict of the court than to disgrace his soul and fall into captivity. How can there be any talk of any slave advice when the main goal of Stoics is to adhere to virtues? After all, Stoics were active and energetic personalities. Among them were Porcius, Marcus, Aurelius, Lucius, Seneca, and others. Stoics practiced a special exercise known as premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils. Its essence was to imagine a situation of chaos and consider how to cope with it. Philosophers considered it important to be psychologically prepared for anything. For example, when Seneca prepared for a journey, he anticipated possible troubles, such as the captain falling ill, pirate attacks, or storms. And although hardly anyone could foresee the attack of the Kraken, here Seneca was already powerless but undaunted. Stoicism teaches that in the eyes of the universe, there are no privileged or rejected ones. The tragedy of others is no less significant than one's own misfortune. Other people's suffering should be perceived as one's own, placing them in the broad context of human destiny. This makes it easier to endure the blows of fate. Sometimes I contemplate the scale of man compared to cosmic objects, and honestly, it brings me comfort. In every object that attracts attention and brings benefit, one should see the beginning and begin to follow this principle with the smallest and most insignificant objects. If you love a pot, say to yourself, "I love the pot." Remember that even if it breaks, you should not allow yourself to be disturbed. The same goes for your love for a child or spouse. Tell yourself that you love the person, not just their outward appearance. For even if they die, you should not allow yourself to be embarrassed. This is a profound teaching that is far from pessimistic but reflects the reality of life. Often we deceive ourselves and live in a world of illusions. Ancient philosophers reminded themselves of the importance of this truth through writings they carried with them or through exercises. For example, the phrase memento mori, which means remember death, was not dark but inspiring for Stoics. After all, if not now, then when? Immersing ourselves in the writings of the Stoics, we find many reflections on death and its significance. It's no wonder that one of Seneca's biographies is titled "To Die Every Day." Users strive to remain calm and indifferent towards death, akin to Epictetus. The time has come for this matter to return to its original elements and compositions from which it was formed. And what horror is there in this? What can disappear in the infinite universe? What can arise anew that would contradict reason? Amor fati, translated as love of fate, signifies acceptance of life in all its manifestations. It does not imply inaction or lack of resistance, but rather acceptance of events and actions in accordance with the natural order. When your loved one departs from this world in your arms, amor fati. When you are dismissed from your job, amor fati. When you plummet down with the airplane, amor fati. This phrase bestows strength and hope. Self-absorption breeds powerful emotions, but they are hollow. Energy is wasted in vain. Our identity is shaped not only by our efforts but also by interaction with the surrounding world. Thus, the Stoics learn to wisely choose their friends. Reject association with those who do not acknowledge wisdom, for they may pollute your mind. But if you must deal with them, be vigilant not to soil yourself with their ignorance. Remember that even if you are pure, interaction with the polluted can harm. Friends should be wise, those who strive for the development of virtues and use reason for good. Remember the transience of life, like the waves of the sea. The purpose of man is to rationally apprehend life. When there are many futile pursuits around, one should choose those not engrossed in them. Most often, it is better to remain silent, but when you speak, do so wisely and thoughtfully. Avoid futile conversations and do not engage in condemnation or praise of others. Gossip is empty chatter, for the person spoken of cannot defend themselves. The speaker serves virtue, not diminishes it, for often people do not realize their mistakes. Why then condemn them? For ignorance. Indeed, a thief seeks what he deems beneficial for himself. Thus, his actions cannot be wrong, for he follows his desires. However, a rational soul always denies contradictions. Until a person realizes their contradiction, they may commit actions that contradict their own beliefs. Together with gossip and empty talk, try to speak of yourself less. During conversations, refrain from mentioning your affairs and misfortunes too frequently and inappropriately. Remember that what pleases you to recall may be of little interest to others. Do not forget about others in everyday life. Only the closest show interest in your affairs. Respect others' time and attention. Remember to turn to yourself in every contingency and seek inner resources. With what ability do you possess to utilize it? If you encounter beautiful youth, you will gain self-control. If faced with hardship, you will gain endurance. And if you encounter humiliation, you will gain patience. This manner of action will prevent your fantasies from overshadowing you. Recall the dichotomy of control. We cannot entirely eradicate injustice in the world, but we can make an attempt. Struggle with what is within your power. This requires training oneself. The same is advised by Seneca, who reflected on the day's events before sleep, as clarity of mind wanes in bed. Also, Marcus Aurelius kept his philosophical diary, reflecting his thoughts on its pages. Difficulties are the key to perfection, through which one must refine their character. Stoicism is not just a philosophy to be understood by merely hearing it. It is practice. Reason in the hands of a Stoic is a tool for constructing a reflective society. Thus you, at least in part, will imbue this philosophy. Friends, I hope you found this video interesting. And subscribe, I will help you delve even deeper into this philosophy. Thank you for your attention, and until we meet again.